Hello, sisters. Welcome to the Art of Spiritual Living online retreat. My name is Elizabeth Foley. I'm an artist and a creative catalyst. I help women get over their creative blocks and get in touch with their inner creative spirit. Today, we are here with Mary Shores, and we are going to be talking about conscious communication, how to harness the power of your words to change your mind, your choices, and your life. So before we dive in, I want us all to take a moment tuning into our breath so we can get really present and get the most out of this session. So I'm going to invite you right now with me to just close your eyes and let your attention settle on your breath. Just noticing your breath as it is right now in this moment. Noticing your breath as it's passing in and out of your body. Noticing your chest as it's rising and falling. And now noticing anything that's come before this moment, anything that's weighing on you or keeping you from being fully present. Let's take a deep breath in together. And as we exhale, just let that all go. And now noticing anything that's coming in the future, anything that's you're nervous about or anxious about, anything that's pulling you into the future. Let's take a deep breath in together. And as we exhale, let's just let that go. And now let's take one last deep breath together, just bringing ourselves fully into this moment, right here, right now. And I'm going to invite you, if you like, to keep your eyes closed for just one more moment while I share with you today's reading. This is called Promise Yourself. It's by an anonymous author. Promise yourself to be so strong that nothing can disturb your peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person you meet, to make all your friends feel that there is something in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make your optimism come true, to think only the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best, to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as you are about your own, to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future, to wear a cheerful countenance at all times and give every living creature you meet a smile, to give so much time to the improvement of yourself that you have no time to criticize others, to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble, to think well of yourself and to proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud words but in great deeds, to live in faith that the whole world is on your side so long as you are true to the best that is in you. And that's called Promise Yourself. So I'm going to invite you now, if you still have your eyes closed, to open your eyes and join us. And I'm going to introduce to you Mary. So Mary Shores is an expert at personal development. She's a businesswoman who's discovered a roadmap of how to get in control of your life. She will inspire you to understand that the way we communicate, the words we speak, even our simple actions can change the course of our lives. Mary's roller coaster life began with being abandoned at a young age and tragically losing her first child. But Mary was able to overcome life's hurdles and turn tragedy to triumph by building an 8-figure business empire at age 24. Mary blends personal experience with her extensive knowledge of neuroscience and human behavior to guide businesses and individuals to defeat the freak out and create their ideal life. She's a Shark Tank style CEO who cuts through the chaos so you can change your mind, your choices, and your life. So welcome, Mary. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Elizabeth. I'm really excited about your online retreat. How much fun is that?
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm excited to learn more about our words and how they can impact our life.
Yeah, it's so important. And I definitely have always understood the power of words from a very young age. And I love that you said we're going to talk about conscious communications today, because to me, it's all about taking the world that is spirituality and bridging it with what we know about science, which is really kind of where I come in. I'm a neuro nerd. I really love neuroscience. And so when you take when you take what we know about neurology, psychology, and neurochemistry and cross it with spirituality, suddenly it all makes sense, because really science and spirituality are truly talking about the same things, but they're using a separate language from each other.
Mm-hmm. So before we dive more into words, what I'd love to know a little bit more about is like, what does spirituality mean to you? You know, I know it means so many different things to so many different people. So yeah, I'd love for you to tell me
Hmm.
your perspective on that.
Well, for me, spirituality is really the fabric of our entire existence. So it's both a practice, like I practice my spirituality, which looks a lot like understanding what I'm doing here, how I'm growing, how my life, my consciousness fits in with universal consciousness and knowledge. And so I don't think that I put much more broader definition of it on that, because it is so different than every person's going to have something extremely different to say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's part of what this retreat is all about, is like to give us all kind of a menu of different things that can become our personal view on spirituality and our personal practice with spirituality. So tell us a little bit more about like, what are your spiritual practices, and how does your interest in neuroscience play into that?
Well, what I really love to share about with my daily practices is all about powers of manifestation, because I feel like since I've been writing and since I've become an author and really take a deep dive into spiritual studies, I see a lot of I see a lot out there about manifesting, and I see a lot of words that seem like buzzwords or giving us instructions on how to get there or how to get what we want, using spirituality or using law of attraction or other universal knowledge laws as a way to get there. But the thing is that we have to understand how all of these different pieces fit together, and that it's not just as simple as concentrating on what you want, or not just as simple as writing a vision or making a vision board, or writing yourself a check. Those things are great, and they're a wonderful reminder, because every time your system sees it, it's creating a neural pathway that's going to help you get there. But to understand very deeply, I think a great concept to start with is alignment, because in the 10 years 15 years that I've been studying this, I would hear that word alignment a lot, but I would never hear like a practical definition of it or how to achieve it. And so to me, alignment really started off as being this thing that meant I need to get my thoughts, my words, my actions, my choices, my beliefs, all moving in the same direction of whatever it is that I want to achieve. So whether that's health, whether that's wealth, whether that is, some sort of goal, like I want to run a marathon, or I want to start a business, I need to have all of these things in alignment. But typically what happens, and I can share my own story as an example of this, that for 10 years I wanted to write a book, but I would go around and I would say to everyone who would listen to me, Elizabeth, I would say, I want to write a book, but I'm not a writer. And the thing is that, and I'm sure as an artist, you can understand this, but the thing is that when you hear me say the words, I want to write a book, words are a mirror to your subconscious mind. So when you hear those words, it's like you can see that written on my soul, that I have come into this life with this purpose of writing a book. But see, I have a big problem when the next words out of my mouth are, but I'm not a writer. Okay, because what that is showing me is those words are also a mirror to my subconscious, meaning that somewhere, somehow, somewhere in my past, I developed a belief system that says I am not capable of writing a book. And so as long as I had that incongruence going on in my subconscious, it's impossible for me to make the goal. And so what I needed to do to step out of that old belief system, to shatter that belief system, was to create a new belief system. And I could do that by taking a step in a new direction. And so for me, that looked like going to a writer's workshop or just investing in myself somehow so that my mind, my subconscious could start to get the evidence that it needed that would then change my thoughts, change the way I feel about it, change my belief system, which changes my words, which then changes my actions and my choices, and which actually that's how you change the results. Because the thing that I'm seeing is people doing the same things over and over and over, or looking for a different solution, but always getting the same results because truly there hasn't been enough actual change in the subconscious of our minds.
Right. Right. You can change what you're saying, but if you don't change what you're doing, nothing's really going to change. Or if you don't change what you're believing, nothing's going to change.
Right. And I know that, and another part of this is I would hear a lot of conversation surrounded by being very, very invested in the way that we feel, like that thinking positively is the way to manifest to our goals. And I love positive psychology, but it has put us in this place of being like smack in the middle of a positive psychology movement that doesn't give us a way to process things when our world hits the fan. And so what is really important is that we understand that, we are here having a human experience in these bodies, and we all know that. And if you're tuning into this type of retreat, I can assume that you're comfortable with that type of language. But that means all experiences, not just the good ones. So even when you're experiencing unpleasant or uncomfortable things, that's all part of the process. And I can tell you that my own journey has not been a graceful one. And as a matter of fact, in a lot of ways, it's been very uncomfortable. But going through those uncomfortable times is what has allowed me to grow the most. And so it is great to think positively. And I'm certain, actually my book hit #1 in the category of happiness on Amazon, which is kind of funny for me because I'm not the poster child of happiness, but yet I do say when you want to take action, because like you were saying, it's not just about the words, changing your words or changing your thoughts. You also have to back that up with action. But like sometimes it seems like we're just spinning our wheels with the action we're taking and we're not getting anywhere, or like everything is very, very chaotic. And so the reason I bring this up is because this has been coming to me very strong lately, that we need to manifest from a place of empowerment. And what I mean by that is, again, empowerment has been another one of these buzzwords, especially with like Me Too movement and other things going on. Like the women's empowerment movement is upon us. The feminine spirit has been rising up, and that feminine essence has been getting really stronger and stronger. But what is empowerment? And I feel like empowerment is when you can understand inside, outside, backwards, and forwards, exactly, you have the clarity, inside, outside, backwards, and forwards, clarity of what it is that you want and some sort of direction on how to get there. So it's like knowing what you want, seeing what you want, and knowing the actions it's going to take along the way to get you there. And here's the important part to understand and why this is important, because everything you manifest from a place of empowerment is going to show up stronger, faster, better. It's going to be longer lasting. And most importantly, it's going to make a greater impact. And that's the important part, because your legacy, what you're doing here, your growth, your human experience is about the impact that you make, the ripple effect that you create on this world while you're here. And so the opposite of that, the flip side of that, is disempowerment.
Mm.
So, empowerment is a state of being. And that's when you're feeling that empowerment. That's when I want you to take action. That's when I want you to say, this is what I want to manifest because I'm feeling empowered today. And you're going to have massive results if you do that. Now, disempowerment is not a bad thing either. It's a different state of being. And when you are feeling in disempowerment, this is the opposite of empowerment. You're feeling fearful. You're feeling restricted. You're feeling cut off. And everything you create from a place of disempowerment is going to be weak. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be uncertain. And it's going to feel very much like you're swimming against that stream. Like you're not in flow. You're in the opposite of flow. It's just not working out for you. And so what do you do though when you're feeling disempowered? That's the important thing, because we're not going to walk around empowered 100% of the time. It's just impossible. I mean, even our feminine bodies don't allow that for us. We are here, we are meant to feel that full range and that full spectrum of emotions. And so when you're feeling, I'll give you a scale. So I like to do it like this. Rate yourself on how well you feel on any given day from a 1 to a 20. Now, I didn't say 1 to 10, 1 to 20. And not so long ago when I was doing this, I gave myself a 7. And when I looked around my world during that like couple week or month period, I had a lot of problems in my business. I had a lot of chaos and drama going on in my home with my children. And I had to remind myself that when I feel at a 7 for how well I feel, everything in my life is a 7. And that's out of 20. And so what I need to remind myself is, wait a minute, I don't need to be creating right now, because everything I'm creating is going to also be a 7. So my goal, my job now is to make myself go from a 7 to like a 17. Okay. And the way that you do that is by closing your circle in. It's by making your world smaller. It's by creating self-care. And I think that when I say self-care, I want to put a really simple definition to self-care. That self-care simply means taking space for yourself. Mm. So when you can take space for yourself, and that doesn't mean like you have to go on a retreat. It doesn't mean you have to get a massage. It doesn't mean you have to do anything. It just means you have to close that circle in. And what I mean by that is, don't say yes to every little thing. Don't run favors for other people. Close your circle in. Only keep that most important circle around you. And then if you do that, within just a few days, you'll start feeling yourself climbing that emotional frequency scale. And then when you get to a 12, to a 13, to a 14, when you get above a 10 and you start to feel that empowerment welling up inside you, and you start to feel that confidence, that's when it's now time to take action. That's the place I want you to create from.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What would you say to somebody who says that they feel like they're just really often in the like less than 10 phase? Or
you mean like me?
I
am often.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I am often in the less than 10 phase. You know, sometimes our life circumstances, I have a special needs child. And so my son is on the autism spectrum, and he is 18 years old. And, you know, I run a very hectic, busy, you know, when you are a CEO, you have a very busy lifestyle. There's a lot of pressures upon you. Yeah. And so one of the things that I do is I get super clear, and I'll dial myself back, because I start to get pulled in so many different directions. And so when you're asking me, like, what do? I write myself, I have two things. One is I write myself a core 4, which means what are the 4 most important things that are in my life right now? What is my core 4? Okay. So for this year, when I wrote my core 4, it was my business, my children, my brand, and my healing. Which means that things that are outside of that core 4, all of my energy needs to be going towards those 4 things. And any energy going outside of those 4 things, I throw what I call a yellow flag, and I say, I need to really be checking in with myself. Should I be putting energy towards this? Because it's actually taking energy away. Like I had to remind myself just recently that when my cup is empty, I can't do anything. And so the other part of that is, one of the reasons why we start to feel disempowered is because we have a lack of dopamine and serotonin in the brain. And what we need to do is we have some sort of stressor. You know, we have a stressor, or we have something that is causing us to feel unwell. And so I have a process called 5 steps to break through your breakdown. And each step is backed by neuroscience, thoroughly researched. But what it's doing is each step is creating a set of neurochemistry to support feeling better. And I'll give you the first step. It is when you are feeling below that 10, to write a list of all of your problems, because the way that our mind works is we really appreciate list writing. Our brain rewards us for that. And what it rewards us with is happiness hits of dopamine. And it also stimulates the problem solving areas of our brain. And if we wanted to take a spiritual approach from this, I would say that it's providing clarity for your higher self so that you are being absolutely clear with the universe on what you want. You know, even like myself, I sometimes when my world gets chaotic, I start thinking that I want all of these different things, and that's miscommunicating to the universe. So anything that I can do to dial in my clarity is what the universe needs to know what to provide me with these, like what I'll sometimes call these hidden forces or the synchronicities.
Mm-hmm. That's great. I love that. I love this unpacking of these terms. What's the next one you got for us?
Let's see. We talked about alignment. We talked about empowerment. Okay, I'm going to go a little bit deeper on alignment, okay? Because we talked about getting your thoughts, your words, your actions, your choices, your beliefs all moving in the same direction. But I think that there's some other things that are super, super important. And I want to talk for a moment about forgiveness and judgment.
Awesome.
Okay, so I have recently become aware that you cannot truly be in alignment if you have things from your past that you have not forgiven yourself for, or you have things from your past that you judge, or you're judging. And actually, even in the present day, it's like we have this crazy roommate in our head that is constantly telling us how terrible we are. Okay, and so this is important because if we want to talk about alignment and authenticity, okay, authenticity is a major key towards manifestation, because the more that you become who you really are, the more that you are grateful for your own skills, gifts, and talents, the more authentic you are being about like that true nature of who you're supposed to be, then the more your powerful manifestation increases. But one of the things that will pull us out of alignment or keep us out of alignment is this aspect of forgiveness. Because the thing about forgiveness is when I was a kid, I really, I did not come from an overly religious family, but it was there. I mean, like we went to church, and I remember being taught that I should pray for forgiveness to this deity in the sky. It was almost like it was a debt that I owed, that I had to repent, or else I wasn't going to be allowed into heaven. And I think that now that I'm 44 and I have all this like infinite wisdom, I understand that the true being that I need to ask for forgiveness from is not God. It's myself. I am the one that needs to forgive myself. So I'm going to read this to you. This is on page 158 of Conscious Communications. So it goes like this. This is from a chapter called Becoming Who You Really Are. I know it's easier said than done, but what if, as an experiment, you tried to be happy just by becoming who you really are, just living it and stepping into it? To get to who you really are, you have to shed layer after layer of who you've been pretending to be. Layers of the person that you know deep down you are not. You're shedding layers of your problems, layers of self-judgment, layers of how others have judged you, shedding layers of unworthiness, fear, worry, and unnecessary responsibilities, and layers of beliefs and challenges around what other people think you are, or even worse, think you should be. So this goes right along with this authenticity piece, that in order to really be in true alignment, we need to be forgiving, we need to drop the judgment, and we need to be authentic. And so becoming, I know you like, we could do a little exercise on this. Okay. So if I were to say to you, Elizabeth, if you want to play along with me,
Yeah.
if you could be any hero, superpower, superhero, archetype, any character throughout history, either real or imagined, if you could be any one of those, who would you choose?
Oh, there's so many good options. That's a hard one to choose on the spot. But okay, recently I've been really tuning into the energy of the sorceress from He-Man. Do you know that
Okay.
character?
I don't.
Okay.
But tell me what you admire about this sorceress.
She is, well, she's a powerful female. That's part of it. And she definitely embodies her femaleness. Um, she's fearless. And yeah, she creates what she wants in the world.
So
Oh,
I'll tell you,
I think there's one other piece. Sorry. One other piece is that she's really working towards the good of the whole.
yeah,
Yeah.
she wants, yeah, I get that. So I'll tell you a little story about why this is important.
Mhm.
So one time when I was in one of these, below a 10, I was probably more like a 2. I was trying to work out some issues that I had, and I realized that my whole life I had really admired Scarlett O'Hara. So Scarlett is the main character from Gone with the Wind that we all know, and I loved Scarlett because Scarlett was business brilliant, just like me. Scarlett was beautiful. She could have any man she wanted. She was tough, like she was tough as nails, but yet she was still feminine and sexy. And there was just something about Scarlett that I would be drawn to. But in this particular moment, I realized that Scarlett had all of those things, but she also constantly had drama going on. She was always struggling. She was always fighting. She always had some massively terrible thing happening in her life. And so it was in that moment that I realized that instead of being Scarlett, that I wanted to be Dorothy, because Dorothy had the power all along. And Dorothy had the unconditional love and support of the Tin Man, the Cowardly Lion, and the Scarecrow. And so I switched from this archetype of Scarlett to this archetype of Dorothy. Now, why is this important? Because every single person that I've asked this question to for the past 4 years, they always pick someone who embodies the qualities that are true for them. So whoever you choose, you today, Elizabeth, audience, whoever you choose, I want you to ask the same question. I actually chose 2 people for myself too, because so the other one was Jessica Rabbit. And kind of for some of the same reasons, like Jessica Rabbit, she supported Roger because Roger was this force for good. And, it was really what she stood for. And so you don't have to choose just one. But my point is, whatever qualities you pick out that you admire about that person or that character is qualities that you embody yourself. And see, we were all brought here with skills, gifts, and talents, but we also were put through a process in our childhood that did not necessarily cultivate these things into our lives. And so we have to recapture that truth. In order for us to truly step into that authenticity, it means always, every day, stepping into exactly who you really are. Meaning, if you are the best chocolate chip cookie baker on the planet, find a way that you're going to support the world with your chocolate chip cookies. If you are the best spreadsheet maker or, singer, even if it's just through volunteering or through singing at yoga, we have in our town, we will have musicians come into some of the yoga practices, and it's so beautiful, right? So find a way to support your gift. And when you do that, what happens is it strengthens the neural pathways that built those gifts for you in the first place. And that gift will soon become an opportunity for you by way of synchronicity. But you have to show the universe that you're building that muscle. It's almost like it's a muscle, no different than a bicep. And you've got to, and this is perfect for artists because you're truly skilled and talented people. For that 10 years, I really did want to be a writer, and I needed to practice that skill. I needed to bring that out for me. And the moment I did, the universe lined it all up to make it happen.
Yeah, I always tell people that they want to make art, and day one they expect to make this masterpiece painting. And I'm like, it's just like going to the gym, right? When you go to the gym, you don't expect to bench press 150 pounds day one. You got to start with the bar and build that muscle and you got to build that way up. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
It's so true. Imagine that you have a garden in your mind, in your subconscious, and that garden represents all the neural pathways that are spinning and twisting and lighting up all of the time. And every time when you plant a new seed in that garden, you need to water that garden in order for that seed to grow. And that seed can grow into its own network, but you have to feed it. You have to water that seed. And
Mhm.
sometimes we have these old seeds, right? We have these old seeds that are all the belief systems telling us why we can't do it. So it's not just about writing, like, but how many times do we say, I want to start my own business, or I want to do this, I want to do that. But then we always follow it up with the but excuse. And
Right.
so the way that we can overwrite those beliefs is by constantly planting that new seed and then feed that seed.
Mhm. Yeah, that's great. Well, we are probably kind of getting towards the end of our time, but I know that you have a really great gift to share with everybody, and love to hear more about that. And we were going to lead a little bit into that and let people know how it can serve them. And yeah.
So this is great. So because I promised our fearless leader here that I wanted to lead a manifestation exercise that was a journaling exercise, I have given you guys all, first of all, in the download, you all get a copy of, I think it's the introduction and the first chapter of my book, which will go along with the material for the journaling. But we're going to do what's called the Daily Desires Diary. And the Daily Desires Diary is just, it's a daily practice that I would love for you to commit to for 45 days. So starting right now today, as your day one, commit to it for 45 days. And you know what? If you skip a day or two, don't feel like you have to do it 3 times in that day. Just pick up where you left off and just move it forward. So here is what we're going to focus on in this Daily Desires Diary. I want you to write down 3 things every day that you're grateful for. Now, again, in when I was growing up, it's the same kind of thing with forgiveness. Like I was taught that I needed to pray to this deity, this God in the sky, that I owed this debt of gratitude towards. But really, the reason that gratitude is so important in every spiritual practice is has a foundation of gratitude. We know that. But the things that it's going to do in your subconscious mind is amazing. You know, Marianne Williamson says that a miracle is but a shift in perception. And I promise you that if you adopt this 3 things you're grateful for every single day, and you do this for 45 days, what will happen is, and this is backed up by neuroscience, that you are going to build new neural networks in your subconscious that is going to train your brain to see the world differently. It's truly, truly a shift and a miracle. The second thing that we're going to do every single day is we're going to write down 3 moments of the day that we're proud of. I think that in order for us to step into this true feminine power, we have to stop the humble attitude. This humble attitude that we've been taught, this dumbing down of our qualities, and we need to celebrate our big wins and our small wins. So every single day, what were the 3 moments you were most proud of? I don't care what they are. I don't care how big they are. I don't care how small they are. In fact, it can even be like, I'm so proud that I didn't have road rage on that dude. You know, that's totally fine. There's no judgment here. It's just pick 3 things, because what happens in your subconscious is we know that when you reminisce on something that went well, what you're doing is you're strengthening the part of your brain that is the strategic thinking part. So that when you have a problem later on down in life, you'll be able to think of the solutions easier. So we all know, like, if you had a brother or a grandfather or somebody who like went fishing, and every time they told you the story about the big fish or the big baseball or the play or whatever they did, you know, every time they told that story, didn't that fish get like a little bit bigger every time? That's because whenever they retell that story, they're tapping into a very powerful part of their brain. And we can do this too. Men have no problem celebrating their wins, and we shouldn't either. So you don't have to post them on Facebook. Just write down on your journal 3 of your proud moments. And then lastly, you're going to write down 3 things that you desire every single day. And they can be the same things every day. They can be different. It doesn't really matter. But in order for you to get really clear with the universe about what you want, I want you to put it in writing every day, 3 things that you desire.
Awesome. So let me ask you a question, because I bet there's some neuroscience behind why it's 45 days.
There isn't.
Oh, okay.
45 days is okay, because I am a person that I would try something and I would give it 30 days. And if I didn't see, because, you know, like, listen, we're kind of living in this time period where we're so used to instant gratification. And I can tell you that I was somebody who was like a weekend workshop warrior, like, whoa, I'm going to go to this retreat and I'm going to have a transformation in a weekend.
Mhm.
And what I learned actually quite the hard way is that I would go to these retreats and everyone else around me seemed like they'd had this total transformation. And I would look in the mirror and go, I'm still the same person. Nothing's changed. Well, what happens is all of those people are riding high on the energy of the event. And if you follow them on Facebook or whatever, you see that 2 months from now, nothing has really changed.
Mhm.
So the lesson here is that true transformation happens in small pivots over time.
Mhm.
And so a couple of years ago, it was when I was writing the book, I decided to write a page of affirmations every day. And I convinced myself when I get to 30 days of my affirmations, I'm going to see these miracles happen. And 30 days came and went and nothing happened.
Mhm.
But at 45 days, that's when it seemed to finally take hold, because you know what? It's the repetition that builds the subconscious network,
Sure.
right? And so the reason I say 45 days over 30 days is because I don't want you to give up too soon if you didn't see the result you wanted.
Mhm. That's great. Great encouragement. Awesome, Mary. That sounds like a really great practice. I am looking forward to diving into that. I love keeping a gratitude journal. It's something I've done for a long time, but I love the like trifecta of the three pieces. I think that sounds great.
Yeah, I think there's something magical about the number three. So
Me too.
if you guys get some results, I'd love to hear from you and let me know what your results are.
Awesome. Yeah. Any final words you've got for our listeners today?
Just thank you so much for the interview, Elizabeth. I'm so excited about your retreat and looking forward to tuning in. Hope that you all have a wonderful, wonderful time. And also, if you want to find me, you can check me out online. I have a website, maryshores.com. That's SHORES. My big ask is that if you resonated with what we talked about today and you want to know more, just go on Amazon, check out the book Conscious Communications that is published by Hay House, and just read the description and a handful of reviews, and you'll know right away if the book is for you or not. And of course, I'd love anybody to follow me on Instagram, Facebook, whatever is like your preferred social media.
Yep. And we've got links for the download that Mary's offering to the Daily Desires Diary. We've got that right below here. So go ahead and click on that and take advantage of that. And you said also there's like a chapter of your book there, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. So really enjoyed having you with us today, Mary, and looking forward to hearing from all of you. What shifted for you just from taking in this information, and keep us updated on how the work with the Daily Desires Diary is shifting things for you as well. So,
Yeah. And hopefully even, it's probably even just a great thing to do when you are in that 7 and you want to get it up to that 17, just to like really tap into those daily desires.
awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being with us today, Mary, and thank you to all of you for joining us. Blessings, everybody.